Hi everyone, so it is time for another story time video because you seem to enjoy the one I did was it last week? And I thought I would do another one because you guys requested it, and I thought I would do the one about my high school teacher who hated me. And I'm aware this sounds like really over dramatic, but let me tell you, it's not over dramatic. She really did, and it was very weird. It's one of those kind of experiences that I look back on now and I'm like, that was just weird. But basically, I was about 15, 16 years old, and I never kind of got into trouble at school ever. I was never expelled. I was pretty, like, I wasn't the smartest, but I was pretty good in school, and I was quite well behaved and very polite and everything. So I was never really in trouble. I never had trouble with teachers. It just wasn't kind of something that ever happened to me. And then when I went into a new class when I was like 16, and this teacher was somebody who she knew my dad. I think maybe like she was a friend of one of his friends or something like that. She knew my aunt, who also happened to be a teacher at the time, and she kind of knew us. And the first time I met her actually was we were having like a one-on-one meeting before you got put into this class. I can't remember exactly why it was, but that's what was happening anyway. And we went in and met her. And I remember I walked in with my dad, and I went to sort of sit at the table, and she looked at me. And she kind of looked at me up and down and kind of went like that. And then sort of started asking the questions. And I didn't mention it to my dad because I kind of thought maybe I was imagining it. But she was very, very, very hard and very kind of, I don't know if like the right word, sort of, I don't know, she just didn't seem very warm or very nice. She just seemed quite sort of calculated and just not very kind of interested. She was just very sort of matter of fact, and she was going to be like your homeroom teacher type of thing. So, I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't think at the time, or like she made a bad impression or anything. I was just like, whatever. Then the school year started, and the first day of school, I obviously, like, I didn't go to school in England. I went to school in Israel, and we didn't have to wear a uniform as such. You had to wear a t-shirt that had the school logo on it, but you could wear like whatever bottoms you wanted. So I had a denim skirt on. Bearing in mind this was like, I was like 15 at the time, so it looked better on me. If I wore a denim skirt now, it would be horrific. But I had a denim skirt. It wasn't like a really, really short one, because I was never someone who dressed like that, really. If I was going to show something off, it was boobs. It was never kind of like legs, because trust me, they were not in any position to be shown off. But it wasn't really, really short. And I wore it for the first day of school, and everything was fine. And we had a lesson with her. And then at the end of the lesson, as we were coming out of the door of the classroom, she came up to me and she just whispered in my ear, "I don't think you should wear that skirt anymore." And I kind of thought, that was a bit weird. Whatever. But I just thought she probably thought that it was too short or something, and it wasn't, but I was like, oh, whatever, that's fine. And then slowly throughout the year, lots and lots of these little things kept happening. And for the first sort of year, it was just little picking at things. But then, like, into the second school year, she had devised this rule where she had said that nobody was allowed to come to school wearing leggings. I don't know what her thing was with it. She just didn't like it, and she said you weren't allowed to wear leggings. So she'd already said that, but everybody did, and like nobody really cared. And I thought that her issue with leggings was like that they were tight around your bum and that kind of thing, and maybe it didn't seem appropriate. So what I went and did, because I wanted to wear leggings because it was just, I did, was I bought a school top that was a couple of sizes too big so that it was longer, so I could wear it with leggings, thinking that'll be fine. And so I wore it one day with leggings, and I was again exiting the classroom with my friend, and she looks at me and she said, "Come here a minute." So I came over and she said, "Have you gained weight again?" And I was like, "What?" And she was like, Or is it just the leggings that make it look like that? I was like, I'm still kind of speechless now when I think about it. Like, how insanely inappropriate is that to say to a pupil, or to say to anybody? But I just sort of was like, no, it's just, I mumbled something and sort of went off. And then she just constantly would pick at things that I did, and she would insist I needed extra help, like extra help with schoolwork when I didn't, and I'd say, no, I'm okay, I'm prepared for that exam, and she'd be like, no, you need a tutor. And I'd be like, no, I'm good, I've got it, I'm good. And she'd be like, well, we'll see, won't we, when the results come in. And then the results would come in and I'd be fine, like I'd get a B or whatever, and she'd be like, well, yeah, you could have gotten an A though. And just sometimes I kind of wondered, was it like a way of trying to motivate people? You know how some people like think it's really motivating to be really mean to people? Maybe she thought that. But I don't know. And then we also had a girl in our school who, I won't go into too much detail about this because it's kind of probably a bit sensitive, but who had a lot of trouble socially, and who a lot of people really didn't get on with and didn't like, and she didn't really have any friends. And I was brought up to kind of, you know, you try and be friends with everybody, so I did do that, and I tried to be really nice to her and befriend her, because I felt really sorry for her as well, that like everybody was being not nice to her. But then it all kind of backfired, and it turns out that, you know, there kind of was a reason why nobody wanted to be friends with her, because she really, really wasn't very nice, and she was very, very manipulative, and would got me into trouble over things that never happened, and it was very complicated. But this teacher was totally on this girl's side, and would constantly say that I was, you know, not very kind, not a nice friend. She'd constantly say that like I didn't know how to be a friend to people. She just really picked on me, and she'd ask really inappropriate questions, and just kind of get into your personal life. But she constantly used to comment about my weight, and then when I lost, like, when I say comment about my weight, like, I was by no means big anyway, and then I lost a lot of weight, and I was really skinny, and she'd be like, what are you not eating now then? You've gone from one extreme to the other. And she was just so unkind and horrible, and I didn't mention it to my parents for a really long time, because I just kind of thought, what was the point? Then I did mention it to my parents, and my mum went to the school and had a word with her, and sort of said to her, like, you know, I think you've basically decided that you don't like my daughter for whatever reason. You've got it in for her, and it's unfair, and you've got the wrong impression anyway, not to mention the fact that, like, it's wrong that you should have any impression anyhow. But she got a little bit better after that, and then she'd sort of tried to be nice to me, but I was over it by that point. I couldn't, and it was just really weird when I look back at it now. It was so obvious that from the first second that she saw me, she just decided that she didn't like me. You could see it on her face, and she just decided that I was a certain type of person or whatever. I think maybe she thought that, like, I was a bit slutty or something, which wasn't true at all. Not that, like, even if I was, that would make any difference to her. But she just decided she didn't like me for whatever reason, and that was it. Just was constantly unkind and unsupportive to me, and she really affected my self-esteem in school, like, because I suddenly felt like I was going to be crap at everything, because she was constantly telling me that I needed help and I was going to be crap at everything. And up till that point, I never was. I didn't have any problem with schoolwork. I wasn't like, you know, Hermione Granger, but I was B's and C's, and I was cool with that. You know, I would get A's sometimes, but it wasn't an issue. And then she came along, and my grades became a lot worse, because my confidence was knocked so much. And it wasn't just my confidence in my schoolwork, it was kind of my confidence in myself. She was just really, really horrible, and every time she spoke to you, you left feeling worse. It was just really, really kind of traumatic. And she didn't like a lot of the girls that I was friends with either, and she'd be outright rude and horrible about them in front of me, which was so inappropriate. Like, I'm not quite sure how she kept her job, to be honest, like, because she really, really was inappropriate. And I think about it now, and I think, like, all the like weight comments she made, I should have gone to the principal and told them about that, because that's so out of order. But when you're like 15, you're not going to rock the boat, and you just don't want to say anything, so I didn't. But she was just really, really not nice. And then I saw her again, like, as an adult a couple of years ago, and she was all over me and all nice and sweet and kind and, you know, how's things? But fake, super fake, and just not nice, just not a nice person, and not the way that you should treat a pupil. I don't know what it was, what she had in for me. My mum always said, like, I think maybe it was a jealousy thing, but I kind of like can't see it being that, because it's like, she was, you know, a 50-year-old woman. What, she was jealous of a 15-year-old? I can't see it being that way. But she just had it in for me for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason exactly was, but, you know, whatever. And it kind of, I think, was the start of me then kind of being really paranoid about people not liking me, which is another matter. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little story time video. I will do another one soon, and let me know if you've had any experiences like this. I'd be so interested to know if you'd had an experience like this, because I don't know anyone that has, and I think it's really interesting. So please let me know in the comments down below if you have, and I will see you next time. Bye.